Well, last night I splurged. I wanted to get one of those grand Big Macs, but they told me that you can't get them anymore, so I just had to go down and get a Big Mac value meal. And so that's what I paid for it. But it wasn't too good, so tonight what I'm going to do is I'm going to eat this old leftover meat that you get at the store. So I got a piece of leftover meat, and I got these marked down mushrooms too. I'm going to cook these up. And I got these old squash. You see how they're browned and everything. Most people wouldn't eat them, but you know, when you're old and you have to just make do, you just have to make do. And so I'm going to eat some of them too. So here we are cooking up those marked down mushrooms. These are portobellos. They're pretty good. They say that mushrooms are an antioxidant. They give you antioxidants or whatever, but I just like the way they taste. These are old, but they're not that old. So I've got a little pat of butter in there, and I'll put some salt and pepper on there, maybe a little bit of water. Let those cook down. Okay, so it doesn't take long for portobellos to cook up, and you can really overcook them. So at this point I'm going to switch these off and set them back. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is fry up the squash. Like I say, that's about 50 cents worth of squash for what I paid for it. I ate some the other day, and then I'll have this. But what you do is you basically peel the squash, so you get rid of that brown anyway. And then you cut it in slices. You can cut it lengthways or crossways, it doesn't matter. And you roll it in an egg and water mixture, and then roll it in flour, cornmeal, salt, and pepper. That's what's in this container there, and you don't have to throw it away every time you're done. You just put it in a plastic container and set it in the refrigerator, and you can have it for fish or whatever, chicken or squash or zucchini or anything. That combination, salt, pepper, cornmeal, and flour, cornmeal and flour in equal proportions, will work really well. Okay, so here's what the squash looks like frying. You'll see it get brown around the edges when it's ready to turn, and it's starting to get that way. And over here we've got the egg, and we have a piece ready to go in. I can put this in after I finish with that. We're just about out of meal there, but there's enough. Waller it around here a little bit. Okay. And so here they are, one side's browned, waiting for the other side to brown, and then I'll cook the last 4 pieces. This food, both the mushrooms and the fried squash, are good at room temperature. I usually just heat them up just a little bit before I put them with, in this case we're going to have a piece of steak. Okay, so we're going to let the skillet cool off a little bit before we clean it. Notice I put a wet paper towel over from the counter to the skillet to catch any drippings that happened. It helps, but it has to be wet or it'll catch fire. And this is what the finished product looks like. It sort of looks like fish, but it's squash. Okay, now this is that $7 piece of meat that I got, $7 and change, $8 piece of meat that I'm going to cook up for my dinner this evening. And when I cook steak, I salt it and I pour beer over it while it's cooking, and that tenderizes it. It tastes really good done that way. There are other ways to do it, and you can put spice on it and whatever you like, but this is the way I do it. And some people put butter on it to help it brown, but I don't do that. And so I'm going to take this out and put it on the grill. Okay, so here's the marked down steak on the grill. That's a little piece of bacon up on top. It's not a big deal. There we go. Now I'll let that caramelize on one side and then switch it to the other. Okay, so here it is just after I turned it. Now what I'll do is I'll let the other side caramelize, and then I'll set it off to the side with the cover down to get it to about medium. This is the way I like it. Some people like it rare, but I like it medium. But you get the outside sealed and caramelized, and then close the lid and let it cook for whatever length of time it takes to get it the way you like it. Okay, so now it's caramelized on both sides, and it's on the grill and cooking. And what I'll do is cut the heat down on this side so that it doesn't burn it. I'm pouring a little beer on there now. Beer smells really good. And what I'll do is I'll close the lid and let it cook probably for about 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes with low heat on this side. So I've got the heat turned down to low on this side. I'm going to leave it up on the other side. And what it'll do is it'll just continue to cook. So here we are. I've turned the steak. I'm going to put some salt on it. I'll pour a little more beer on it. See, it fizz. Smells wonderful. Okay, we'll close the cover again. It's getting close to time to take it up. As you can see, I cheat. I use the thermometer sometimes. I'll take this off when it's about 130 or 140. It looks pretty good at this point. Okay, so with the steak just about done, we're going to come in and finish the presentation here. What we have is these portobello mushrooms, a little of this marked down Monterey Jack cheese from Kroger's. Cheese doesn't go bad. You can keep it almost forever. It will mold. You can cut the mold off and eat it. What I have over here is collard greens. I got a package of collard greens for $1.25. So I had some chicken broth on the stove anyway, so I just poked them in there and let them cook for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and put an onion in with them, and they're pretty good. And of course then we have over here, you can see I've been in this. And what I'll do is I'll brown this up a little bit in a skillet. I won't add any grease or anything. I'll just heat it up and then put it in the presentation. Okay, so here's the plate minus the meat. I'm going to go out and get the meat here right now. Okay, so here's the meat. Prior to preparation, I'll prepare it and put it on the plate, and we'll have a meal with a Budweiser. And so this is what my dinner looks like. I have to suffer through this marked down stuff. I just, it's what you have to do when you're old, I guess. But we'll just try and get by as best we can.